Rufus.
Hello.
Our theme for this year's gala is For the Record, which reflects the 30th anniversary of our flagship event. A lot of the content, the song choice, the messaging in particular, has been directly influenced by young people themselves. So were you surprised by any of the music and the song choices the young people wanted to perform at the concerts?
One of the things I loved about preparing for this gala is the youth focus group has brought songs to my attention that I just didn't know. I sometimes feel that I inhabit a parallel universe in some ways, in that when these songs were brought to my attention and I went onto YouTube and I saw it had been viewed by 43 billion people, but not me, I sort of realised that I do have this totally different musical listening to my background. But off the back of it, some of these songs were really great songs. And then with our creative team, I think we've come up with something really wonderful and adventurous in the way we're going to treat them.
Fabulous. So kind of moving on from that question, if you had to put a piece of music or a song into a time capsule for 30 years for someone else to discover one day, what would it be and why?
I am particularly fond of a composer called Anne Dudley. And we commissioned Anne Dudley to write a piece called I Am Alban for our gala in 2020. And she did an arrangement of some plain chants called Veni Veni Emmanuel, and it's a piece of music I got to know when I was at university. And there's something about the energy of it and the fact it's sort of rooted in hundreds of years worth of music. And I listened to it on loop, as we often do when we're young, to our favourite tracks. And I sort of credit it with influencing the way I write as a composer myself, but also with giving me sort of more or less perfect pitch as well, in that I can always remember the pitch of the opening bars and I sort of relate my sense of pitch to that. So Anne Dudley's Veni Veni Emmanuel is the one for me.
Fabulous. So based on ancient music, but very much
in
modern
a sort
context.
of contemporary take on something which has been and always been.
So we, as you know, and you are very passionate about this as well, we champion new music at the Music Service. And for this year's gala, we've commissioned a young composer, Billy Reason. And the composition Caught in the Net is inspired by our consumption and use of technology over the last 30 years. So in putting that piece together for the performance, are there any insights into the creative process for this piece that you can share?
I first came across Billy as a cellist in my local area youth orchestra at North Herts and Stevenage Youth Orchestra. And we had a performance where Billy played one of her own pieces. And also during lockdown as well, she shared some of her pieces with us. And I very quickly saw an immense talent and individuality in her musical voice. We've opened up the brief of writing for the gala to her, and she's really delivered. There's throughout the piece there is some pre-recorded soundscape of all the noises that we have in our digital and musical world, and then alongside that there's an extraordinary musical texture and energy. It's a really unique piece of music, and I think at times our audience, when they hear it for the first time, won't know what on earth is going on. It's quite sort of overwhelming in terms of its sort of sensory impact.
But in a way, does that help share that message of how overwhelming the digital world can be right now?
Oh yes, I think it's fair to say we live in quite a busy world in terms of how much we expose ourselves to in terms of sound and visuals. And I think that slightly chaotic existence of life in 2025 is there in this piece.
Awesome. I look forward to hearing. I'm purposely not listening to any of the rehearsals so I can have the whole experience for the first time at the Albert Hall. For a piece like that, on a more practical note, are there any technical issues that you are considering when bringing that to life for its world premiere at the Albert Hall?
Yeah, very much so. We've explored pieces with ClickTrack before at our last gala. And there are elements of making sure that click sort of relates in a helpful technical way to me and the rhythm section. We have our first rehearsal later today, on the day we're recording this, and it will give the the members of the youth orchestra that chance to experience the piece with its sound, with its pre-recorded soundscape for the first time. And there will be issues. For some of these young players, it will be the first time they've had to play the click track, and of course the click is something I will hear, rhythm section will hear, but the players won't individually. So that importance of keeping with me as conductor is really paramount, because the way Billy's written the piece is that the pre-record and the live musical elements, they must coincide sort of exactly, just like a film music to film has to as well.
Great. And so moving linked to that again very much is the range of performers taking part in the gala is grown in its diversity and its different disciplines that we're involving now. So last gala we had the rappers in for the first time, and we, as you said, combined digital and live orchestral music making. And it's a great opportunity to celebrate the diverse nature of all the music that we make in Hertfordshire week in, week out, which is, I think, really exciting. So we've got a steel orchestra this year, a drum line for the first time. So with so many different musicians and so many different disciplines, including dance, going on, how do you make sure that everyone's in the right place and performing together in a cohesive way?
It's such a gradual process, from looking at the way the arrangements have been written in the first instance, constant liaison with all the different tutors who are preparing the different elements. And as each rehearsal progresses, the number of forces that we're working with increases. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be rehearsing with the maths primaries. We have some of the younger steel drum players and the drum line coming to join us at our last orchestral rehearsal. So on the day of the performance itself, it's the matter of joining those instrumental forces with the singers for the first time. But prior to that moment, I will have met all of the performers at least once, which is reassuring.
That's fantastic. So it's almost kind of all the roads lead to the Albert Hall in a way.
Yes, yeah.
And so when you get to the Albert Hall, obviously there's the Albert Hall itself is, for anyone who's played in it, it's both this enormous space, but also the most it's intimate. So how do the size and the acoustics of the Albert Hall play a role in how you rehearse on the day and how you conduct on the day, which is, the space is so much different to where we would normally be?
It is. There are challenges to making music in that space, but the positives of the Royal Albert Hall, are so numerous that it's well worth it. When I'm conducting, I have in front of me the orchestra, and then the primary singers, and then the secondary singers. So the distance from me at my conductor's podium to the singers right at the back of the secondary choirs must be, 150 metres or something. So there's an element on the day of just trying to bring those forces together for ensemble. We do have some careful monitoring to help people at the back, and that's all quite strategic, and we explore those in our technical meetings. And then off the back of that, it's then making sure that things balance on the day. So for some of these young orchestral players, it might be their first time accompanying singers. And it's knowing when they are accompanying, when it's a solo orchestral moment. And then also working with the technical teams and, using their skills to help bring together a performance which is perfectly balanced. But it's hard. That's the challenge on the day. Ensemble in a massive hall, children never sung with an orchestra players, but you've never accompanied singers, and that glorious space.
Fabulous. So rounding it all off now, we've discussed the creative process, the practicalities of delivering the performance in different ways. I know you've got a personal connection to this gala this year. So we often hear about this generational impact of parents who performed in the gala themselves as a child coming back to the gala to hear their own child perform. And what impact do you hope the gala will have on this year's performers in, say, 30 years from now?
Unceasingly, when I talk to people about the gala, they recollect it very, very fondly. Indeed. And what I love about the gala is that you have primary children, you have secondary choirs, you have very able instrumentalists in the orchestra who might be school age. There might be some who are off at music college in the early stages of aspiring to be professional musicians as well. So there's every possibility that youngest child in the choir could become a member of this orchestra or for the next 10 years. That's not out of the question. And then coupled with that, I was fortunate enough to be involved in the galas as a young instrumentalist in its sort of infancy. And I had that aspiration that some of those children might well be having sort of major roles in terms of leading this sort of music making when galas happen in another 30 years' time.
Great. Thank you very much, Rufus. Good luck on the day.
Thank you.